What a great time to be a Giant, be a fan of the Giants.
Like, we have something going here. We're building something special, and, you know, you can see it from the outside and inside. It's even more beautiful.
Reflecting on everything that got me here, just to see that uniform, and, you know, I watched, that's the team I watched the most growing up because my dad was a Giants fan, so.
Once a Giant, always a Giant. For me, it's only a Giant.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of All In with Art Stapleton, a New York Giants podcast brought to you by NorthJersey.com and The Record. I'm your host, Art Stapleton, and we are in the middle of game week. Kicked off Monday, now Tuesday, and it was hot and humid, boy, out here in East Rutherford, New Jersey, in the shadow of the MetLife Stadium at the Giants facility. But the week has begun. Giants, Cowboys, Sunday night, season opener. It doesn't really get any bigger than this for a Giants team hoping to prove itself after being swept by the Cowboys last year and by the Eagles, by the way. 0-5 against the top two teams in the division. Other than the 49ers, maybe the top two teams in the NFC. And a new year brings new challenges, but certainly the Giants believe the arrow is pointing up. On today's show, packaged some interviews together for you, so hopefully you guys will enjoy them. First, I catch up with the rookie corners, Tay and Trey. Tay Banks, first rounder. Trey Hawkins, the third, the sixth rounder. They will likely be in the starting lineup on Sunday night, eyeing Dak Prescott, having to deal with Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks, with CeeDee Lamb inside in the slot, facing Adoree Jackson, who kicks inside. I've had several conversations with Banks and Hawkins over the last couple weeks. I think you'll enjoy just a taste of what it was like being at their locker last week. So a little bit of reference to what they were going to do last weekend, being away from the team. And I think you'll enjoy it. Two different personalities. We have them packaged together. So Tay will go first, then Trey. I think you'll enjoy it. Definitely two different styles of interviewing. Tay is a fast talker. He's got that Baltimore accent. You feel me? You feel me? You guys will have an enjoyment of that. But I wanted to bring you into the locker room for those two interviews. They're right next to each other. The two lockers are together. They were 36 and 37 numbers-wise. Now Banks is 25. And they've really been working well together. As Adoree Jackson said yesterday, they're like two peas in the pod. There are two guys that you would think have known each other forever, and they've really just met rookie minicamp back in May. So I hope you enjoy those interviews. And then later in the show, we'll go down memory lane a little bit with New York sports producer Todd Ehrlich. Todd has a new book out about sports memories in New York. Giants are heavily involved. We talked about that. We talked about his book signing on Thursday at Bookends in Ridgewood. So anyone in the Bergen County area, make sure you go check it out. If you're a crossover Yankees fan, Jim Leyritz will be there with Todd. So Todd's a good dude. Has been worked in this area for a long time. Also works on PIX. And those of you who followed me last year, I was on PIX last year, every other week. This year, it looks like I'm going to be on every week post-game with my report from the stadium, both home and away, on PIX. So we brought Todd on the show to talk about his book. I think he dropped some interesting stories, so we go back and forth. I think you'll enjoy that. But up first, let's go to Tay Banks and Trey Hawkins. What I joked about the other day, you and Trey together, I would imagine you've developed a pretty good friendship.
Yeah, that's my guy. Really my guy.
What's that been like, to, getting to know somebody and, playing the same position? And
I don't know, it kind of make you it kind of make you compete harder because like both of y'all competitive and y'all, I don't know, it just boosts y'all confidence really. Because like first of all, we both come in as rookies, and now we almost might start
right
the first game of the season together. So it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know, it's a good vibe. Feel good. And we both confident in each other that we can do whatever we need to do to help this team win.
Now, I heard you guys have really been trying to help each other and swapping clips and stuff. What's that been like?
No, it's just like if I see something on film, I see it, send it to him. If he sees something, he send it to me, and then we just talk about it. So.
Is that something different than you would have done? I mean, you had a close DB group down in Maryland.
Yeah.
Did you guys do similar things that you've kind of brought here?
That's what I kind of brought what I had at Maryland to here. So I started sending him clips because we used to send each other clips. Like my safeties used to send me clips, and we used to just talk about what we got to do, talk through these route concepts or whatever. So.
In terms of like what you see from the offense, or are you actually critiquing like some of each other's plays of what?
Seeing what we see from the offense. We see what we see from the offense. Like as far as like critiquing each other, we let Coach Rome and Wink do that. So
yeah.
I mean, we don't really. I mean, if we meet together, like we say like, oh, you could have did this better, but we don't really. You feel me? We worry about the other team.
How would you compare your games? You've obviously watched them.
We both good size corners, physical, like the press. Like it's just I don't know. We kind of like a real match for each other. Like we kind of like, I don't know.
What about personality-wise?
He more a quiet guy. Like he more of a quiet dude. I'm more of a funny, goofy type of guy.
See, when you came in, I thought you were going to be a shy guy, quiet.
Nah, I'm cool. Like I'm real. Like I try to speak to everybody every day. Like I'm a real energetic guy.
Coach
keep my energy up.
Coach Baker down in Maryland told me that for you get to know them. You say get to know them because they'll start opening up.
For sure. But you do. I don't really open up to everybody. But like once I feel comfortable, I'm gonna open up. If I'm not comfortable, then I'm a real quiet person.
How much would you say that you guys have developed together? I mean, you've been together a lot this summer.
Yeah.
Like I said, I joked that you two being next to each other, are you sick of each other already? But
I don't know. We grew together a lot. I don't know. Like we just kind of grew. Like the first time we ever seen each other was in a rookie minicamp, and from there. We just like been cool ever since.
Just struck it off.
Yeah, like we've been real tight ever since.
Have you begun to think about what next week is going to be like? Finally prepping for a game, breaking down film.
I'm just ready for next week. Like whatever we got coming, I'm ready for it. Like I'm just ready.
What do you like on game days? What's your personality like?
I like to be. See me personally, I like to keep everything regular. Like I like to keep everything like it's a regular day. You feel me? That way I'm still I got a regular mindset. I ain't too uptight. I ain't too, feel me? But I'm not loose and goofy as I usually am. But I'm still laughing, you feel me? Having fun, because this football shit to me is fun. Like, that's my hobby. Like, it's one of my hobbies. I love to do this shit. So I'm not gonna, you feel me, do this or do that just to, you feel me?
Do you have a routine, like a game day routine that you will stick to here?
Yeah.
Like how much of it is, on your own, watching film at home, taking notes at home?
All I do is watch. I've been watching a bunch of film on the Cowboys so far. But as far as like game day, I got my own routine.
What's it like? Take me inside a little bit. What do you do?
I like to. First of all, I like to listen to all my favorite rappers, Baby, Ghana. I like to just, you feel me? I like I told you, I like to make it a regular day. I don't want to make it too, you feel me?
Yeah.
So whereas though everything got to change. This got to be a certain way or that got to be a certain way. Like, you know, it's a regular day. Let's just go out there and play football.
Are you a guy who likes to envision what it's going to be like, or are you just one of those, let me run out?
I try to envision like me intercepting the ball or making a tackle or, you feel me, trying to score a touchdown. As far as like anything else now, I might be chill. I like to visualize me making plays.
When did you learn how to, at what age did you start learning how to break down like opponents, studying quarterbacks, stuff like that?
In college. Because in high school, I was going off straight athleticism, skill. It was fun. It was fun. But since then, I started really watch film and see what's going on. Ever since college.
Are you good at picking up tendencies, do you think? Or
to me, I think I am, because I respond well to watching a lot of film. I just feel like I do. Once I watch a lot of film, I feel confident going into the game, and I feel real comfortable. That's why I excel, because if I'm comfortable out there, I'm having fun. I'm in my mode. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I feel like I be comfortable.
How much do you break down? once the season starts, how much do you break down your own game, or do you let Coach Rome do that?
I gotta always bring down my own, because like I know what you feel me? I know what I expect of myself, so I gotta always I hold myself to a certain standard. So I always gotta watch my film, make sure I'm on my you feel me?
Yeah.
Just to make sure I'm good.
Gotcha. What are you plans for the weekend? Staying around? You going home a little bit?
I might stay around. I'm staying around for sure. I stay around.
Were you kind of guy that will continue through your film study over the weekend and stuff like that?
I'm gonna keep watching film over there. Like I just feel like by keep watching it, you're making your mind remember what's going on, and making your mind, you feel me, get ready for the game. So I'm just ready to play. I'm trying to play. Like,
how much have you watched Dallas so far?
I watched Dallas a lot. I probably spent like 2 hours, maybe 2 hours. No, 2 hours for short, bro. Like, 2 hours for short. So I've been watching a lot of film because it's my first game.
Right.
I don't know. You feel me? I don't know what's going on. So.
Have you asked some of the veterans what the first game's going to be like?
No, I ain't really asked them because I kind of had a little taste in Detroit, because Detroit was kind of packed.
Right.
Detroit was packed, so it's a good day. It was a cool.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate
it. Just talking to Tay about the two of you guys and how you've grown together. What's that been like for you, and how helpful is it to have another rookie with you, kind of going through the same stuff you guys are going through? I know the entire rookie class helps each other out, but for the two of you guys, it seems like you've created a kind of special bond together so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's great having another rookie, just because, when you're a rookie, you got that curiosity and that certain urge of just learning. So we kind of feed off each other with that. So it helps a lot when we both have that same intensity of wanting to learn, that same urge of learning.
Have you ever had your other corner? Did you have that kind of relationship with guys in college?
Yeah. I've always been close to my teammates. So yeah, most definitely.
You said that you guys are kind of swapping clips back and forth and trying to help each other out. If you see something, he sees something. What's that been like?
I mean, it's been good. I mean, knowledge is power, so I feel like it's been good. We've been getting knowledge on the Cowboys. Every clip that we see is just another intel of we just been getting knowledge on every clip that we see, so I think it's a good thing.
Is that fun for you to do the film work, to do the film study, and have you always done that, or is it something you learned through college?
I mean,
I respect him.
I've done it, but I'll say it's more intense now that I'm in the NFL. Like I'm trying to pride myself on that film study.
What's your note taking like?
Right, it all depends. You study different formations. You study receivers. You can study tendencies. It all depends on that that particular day what I'm studying at the moment.
Will you also break down the quarterback you're facing and what kind of tendencies he may have?
Not as much, because we're much of a press team. You can't look at the quarterback and press. So
it's a good point.
Yeah, not as much, but sometimes it's good to know what he likes. What he likes in different formations, especially when we're playing off in his zone. It's good to know what he likes.
How would you compare your personalities, you and Tay?
I don't know. Yeah, I can't. That's a hard question to answer. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's for y'all guys to compare.
Well, as far as the personalities go,
I don't really know. I don't know how to compare it. It's like
what's he like? What's Tay like?
He's more outgoing. I don't really know. That's all I can say. It's hard to.
I know I talked to you the other day when you said going into the weekend and it's game time now, like game mode now, getting ready for next week. With each passing day, do you anticipate it kind of getting more and more exciting, eager? How would you describe it?
I can say you would say that, but I just try to keep a mellow head. Just try to keep the main thing the main thing. I mean, like you said, you can't really control your emotion when it comes to that. It's gonna be my first rookie game coming up, so in-season game. So I mean, emotions are high, but just trying to mellow them out and stay balanced.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You too.
So thanks to Tay Banks and Trey Hawkins III for giving me the time in the locker room last week. Going to be very interesting to see how they perform Sunday night. Sounds like they're ready. Looks like they're ready. It'll be interesting to see if they are ready. The Cowboys are going to try to do what they can to attack them a little bit. But I like what I see in attitude. their approach, and I think you got a little taste of that with the locker interviews with Tay and Trey. So as I teased in the beginning of the show, we got my interview with Todd Ehrlich. Like I said, let's take a walk down memory lane. Super Bowl 42, Super Bowl 21, Super Bowl 25. A lot of good stories. Hope you enjoy them. All right, joining me now, Todd Ehrlich, longtime sports producer. You know him well if you're on the New York sports scenes, worked for WABC, WNBC, and WCBS, now with Pix 11, and that's how I got the chance to meet Todd, but he's a long-time fixture in New York sports. Todd, thanks for joining me.
Oh, Art, my pleasure, my pleasure. As you know, but your listeners don't, I went to Dwight Englewood School here in Englewood, grew up in Bergen County, live in Rivervale now, and I'm excited to talk to you because your paper is what showed up on my doorstep every morning and how I learned about New York sports as a kid, and it's just great to talk to you.
That's awesome. That's appreciated. As as usual, we come on here and we want to focus on the Giants, but you've got a new book out, and I think it's cool. I just got my copy, The 20th Greatest Moments in New York Sports History, Our Generation of Memories from 1960 to today. Tell me first, for you, I know this is your first book, so it's a milestone. How did this come about? And for you, was it hard to sit down and narrow it down to 20 great moments in New York sports history?
So, two questions. It is beyond a milestone. Writing a book is the hardest thing I've ever done in my career. And I've worked on a lot of projects in my career, and I'm exceedingly proud of it. I did over 100 interviews, and that's how it came about. For me, sports is the one thing that really helps galvanize a community. After a huge Giant win, for example, Monday morning after they crushed the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, you walk into your local coffee shop, it doesn't matter. You'll take a look at the person next to you standing in line to buy coffee. You'll be like, how about the Giants? I mean, Saquon went off last night, right? Huge win, 1-0 in the division. We won a playoff game last year. Ready to roll. And it's just something that brings people together. So for me, I have a 6-year-old that I'm raising here in Rivervale, New Jersey, and I wanted him to know about New York sports. So I thought if I could put together a book at Our Generation of Memories, it'd be something that I could share with him, and it's my hope that fathers around New York and Bergen County can share these moments and these stories with their son, but also with their fathers. So I think it's something that can, hey, Dad took me to this game, or we watched this game together. So I'm hoping that these stories can really help bring families together. And then the 20 greatest moments, quite frankly, I sat down and I wrote up a list. And then, I brought Gary Myers into the project, and we went through the list, and, there were 3 giant moments that we thought were huge. Super Bowl 21 with Sims, almost perfect. 25 where Haas is a Super Bowl hero, and OJ predicted that he would be the MVP. And then 42 with the helmet catch. So we've got 3 giant chapters that I think your fans and the people that read and listen to you will really love. And I've got, some great stories about all 3 of them that I would, love to share with you.
Of course. Let's start. You have David Tyree. You wrote your foreword. Tell me about your relationship with Tyree, and he's obviously a fixture from Super Bowl 42 with the helmet catch, as you mentioned. What did what kind of spotlight or what did Tyrese share that maybe you didn't know when you sat down with him to talk about Super Bowl 42?
Great question. Well, I've known Tyree for, about 15 years. He came on and was gracious enough to come on my CBS shows. And obviously, he was a guy that, was an all-pro, was a special teams player. And you could see on the field, he was giving every ounce of effort. And then he authored probably the signature moment in the history of the Super Bowl. And think about that for a second. It's incredible. The Super Bowl is the biggest event every year in our country, and the biggest moment in the biggest event in our country, David Tyree made the helmet catch. So I spoke to him about it, and I had heard, and I'm sure a lot of your readers had heard that the Friday practice didn't exactly go well. So
yeah,
he's a Syracuse wide receiver. He's a guy that his teammates all love, because I spoke to a lot of his teammates. He's finally getting his chance to play receiver, and in a huge moment in the Super Bowl, Friday practice is like dress rehearsal, right? So he goes out there. Toomer told me he couldn't catch a cold. He was dropping everything. He told me he had the worst practice he's ever had in his history as an athlete. Afterwards, what I didn't know is Eli went up to him and encouraged him and said, quote, "You're a gamer. I know you'll be ready." And I spoke to Eli, and he confirmed that story. And I said, "What made you do that?" And he said, "Look, I always believe, I always trust my guys. If you don't trust your gut, you're going to hesitate on everything." Well, think about it, Art. He hesitated on the helmet catch, on that throw. I mean, he chucked up a wounded duck to him and said, "Tyree, you make a play at the most critical moment, third and long in the Super Bowl, right? If it's deflected," Eli said, "it's intercepted. You never throw over the middle." But he needed to make a play at that point, and he trusted his guy, and David came up with the helmet catch, one of the most improbable and incredible catches, in football history. So I said to David, who's become, a good friend, and he's helped me out on a bunch of my shows, like I said, at CBS and now here at Picks. So I said, "David, I'm sure that when people come up to you, they bring up the helmet catch and they tell you where they were or what. Do you have any stories that really stand out?" And this one took my breath away. He said, he's a very upbeat guy, and he got very serious. He said, one fan came up to me and shared that his grandfather was on his deathbed, and the entire family watched the game together. His grandfather was only expected to live another month, but he ended up living 6 months longer, and it was their contention that it was because they shared so much joy by watching the Super Bowl win by the Giants and Tyree's helmet catch. And he says that it's the most humbling and overwhelming thing that anybody's ever said to him. And that is the impact of sports, and it brings families together, it brings communities together. And so I was really blown away by that, and I asked David to do the foreword for me, because that win, upsetting the Patriots, ruining their perfect season, and then the helmet catch on top of it made it the number one moment. So David was kind enough to do the foreword for my book.
Well, yeah, Tyree, I mean, you're talking about, like you said, in the span of 48 hours, going from that Friday practice to what ended up happening in the Super Bowl. And it doesn't hurt that the entire vaunted offensive line decided not to block on that single play and allowed Eli to kind of search around. And I love how Eli jokes in now looking back on it, how he almost threw it to Chris Snee, which would have ended the play immediately with an illegal forward pass. But that's That's great stuff from Tyree. Tyree always has those moments. You know, it's funny how 42 becomes the signature moment, like you said, but 21 and 25, without those two Super Bowls, obviously, for a lost generation of Giants fans that has gotten to the point where they've kind of been pushed to the side by the new, Eli Strahan generation. Let's go back a little bit to 25 first, and then we can go all the way to 21 with Sims. With 25, the wide right, I had the opportunity to talk to a bunch of those guys on the anniversary a couple of years ago. What did you gain from that game I believe it was in Tampa, right? That year?
Of course.
And the wide right with the Buffalo Bills. What was special about that that you included in your moment?
Well, I've got I guess three quick things. One that stood out to me that I was blown away with is kind of like Babe Ruth. OJ called his shot. He said when he was at the U back in '79, if I ever play in the Super Bowl in the state of Florida, there's no doubt as the featured back, I'll be the MVP. And nobody, Super Bowl 21, he barely played it, and Parcells, as a thank you, sent him in on, goal to go, short yardage to score a touchdown as a thank you for everything that, he had done in football and done for the Giants. So certainly in 25, no one thought that was going to be his moment, but he was the MVP. The other thing that really stood out to me from those stories is it was during the Gulf War.
Right.
So, yeah, the MVP always, I'm going to Disneyland, I'm going to Disney World. Well, it gave the MVP, which turned out to be OJ, a chance to dedicate it to the troops if he wanted to. And that's what he said. He goes, I want to dedicate this win to our troops. So he, as the MVP, is the only MVP, not to say I'm going to Disneyland. So I thought, and he just said that what the soldiers were doing, in the Gulf War for our country just meant so much to him that's something that he wanted to do and wanted to share. And he said that he knew that the troops would be watching the Super Bowl and he wanted to thank them. And that reminded me of a story that Haas told. And so, Haas, during that year, as you know, but some of your fans may not, had decided that was it. He was tired of being a backup to Sims. It wasn't a time where there was free agency and movement. He was going to be a Giant, and he was going to retire and go back to West Virginia and figure something out. But he was done with playing football, and he's a guy that, he played special teams, and Art, you'll know, he blocked a punt in Philadelphia in Super Bowl 21. He almost made the game as a receiver because they were short and he was running routes. He would do anything to get on the field. So he finally gets his chance, and he's another guy that his teammates just loved and trusted. And they knew that he'd be ready because he had been spending his career practicing against what they think was one of the best defenses in the NFL, the Giants defense. So he finally gets his chance when Sims gets hurt. He goes on a winning streak. He wins the NFC Championship game. And again, this is during the Gulf War. He's doing interviews afterwards, and the great John Madden says, I want to interview you. And he's like, listen, the only way I'm doing that is if Bill holds the buses for us. And Bill is not going to hold the buses. Madden's like, oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Come down, do the interview. So reluctantly, he wanders down, he does the interview with John Madden. There's 6 Giant buses. He goes back up afterwards, and there's nothing but vapor. There's, nothing. There's not one bus. There is nothing there. And he's freaking out, and he's standing there, and he doesn't know what to do. And it's not like they're going to be in the terminal because it's during the Gulf War. So they're going straight onto the tarmac. He turns around, and there's John Madden laughing. And he's like, well, I guess you were right. He did it, didn't he? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll get you there. So Haas has no choice. He hitches a ride on the Madden Cruiser, which I think is pretty cool. They go cruising, and he's like, yeah, John's not the least bit worried. We're talking about the game. We're just going back and forth. Next thing he knows, he pulls up to the back gate. He's like, where are we? He looks. They're opening the back gate. Boom. They're driving onto the tarmac. He's like, I knew Madden had pulled, but never this much. Pulls up to the plane, walks up onto the plane, looks to the right, his first seat. There's Bill. Bill's laughing, just looks at him, smiles, and nods his head, doesn't say a word, as if to say, well done, kid, and off to Tampa they go.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Crazy, right?
Very good. Yeah, that one is I had never heard that one. That's special. That's definitely unique. And obviously that's pretty cool to have something like that. In your book. Let's do the first one for the Giants in 21, and obviously Phil Simms, as you mentioned, as close to perfect as possible. As you can get as a quarterback. It's kind of funny, a couple weeks ago at Giants practice, Phil's youngest son, Matt, who you know well, I know well, when I covered him in high school and really his entire football career, showed up wearing a Super Bowl 21 championship shirt that from the Giants, and I kind of laughed and said, boy, I know you weren't born then. And he kind of laughed and he said, no, but it's probably one of those moments that creates, I always joke that I was born because of Super Bowl 21. Tell me about what you got from Phil from that game and why it belonged in your list.
So Phil tells me that he's warming up, and one of his quarterback coaches who always called him Blondie. He's like, hey, Blondie, you're really ripping it today. And he's like, I don't feel any different, felt okay in pregame, and he went into the game, and, he just said that he concentrated on the process. What was the next play? What was the next play? And all of a sudden, you're 22 for 25. So, I was interested in that, and I was really, it made me think about sports on all levels. And, for me, I play golf, and when I'm out there, bring the club straight back, okay, from the, when I'm overthinking, I play terribly and tight. And that's what he said. He wasn't thinking, he was just winging it, and 22 for 25 is pretty darn good. He said, I wish I could have done that in every game. And he also said that changed his life, and he knew at the time that it was important, and being the Super Bowl MVP and the Super Bowl champion was important. And he talked about, Giant fans and how much they expected, and especially how close they sat in the old Giant Stadium. And there would be dialogues going back and forth, and he could hear everything they were saying, and they could be tough on him. And Parcells used to always tell him, hey, when you're done playing, they're going to appreciate you, and a lot more than they are now. Now they might be a little tough on you. And he said that it changed his life, and quite frankly, he wouldn't have been at CBS Sports, where, I also worked and got to know him a little bit better without being a Super Bowl MVP. And then an offshoot of being an MVP happened to Phil McConkey, and this is a story that I didn't know. And like I said, I interviewed over 100 people, and my favorite line that athletes or broadcasters or people that covered the game would say to me is, I got a story that I've never shared before, and Phil shared this story with me, and I had never heard it, and I obviously covered the Giants forever and thought I knew most of the stories. He said that he had two dreams in life, and he was a smaller fellow. One was to be a pilot, so he joined the Navy and became a pilot because he's like, I don't know, my second one, which is to be a receiver in the NFL. and ultimately, like every kid in the backyard catch a touchdown pass to the Super Bowl, would that dream would ever come true because of his size. So he joins the Navy, comes out, he's like, I'm going to give it a shot. He makes the Giants. He's a gritty wide receiver. Everyone loved him, towel-waving guy. I mean, he was just the best. I mean, a fan favorite. So he now is living out his second dream. So he's standing on the sidelines. He's looking up. He sees the clock counting down, 3, 2, 1. He's jumping up and down. He runs onto the field. In the middle of the mayhem, he looks down, and he said it was the most surreal experience of his life. He sees a Magnum 357 gun lying there in the middle of the field. Well, his military training kicks in. He picks it up. He keeps it pointed to the ground to make sure that it's safe, right? And what he didn't know is because he was behind Sims, by happenstance, the cameras from CBS that broadcasted the game were following him. So this story is so old that the CBS switchboard, they had a switchboard, was flooded with calls screaming, why did McConkey have a gun in his helmet, right? So he says that he told, people afterwards, he goes, well, you know what? I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, helped my team win a championship. I saved some lives all in a day's work. So that story I got a kick out of.
That is pretty funny. Could you imagine if that happened now? How viral that would go on Twitter and X and Instagram and wherever else someone posts stuff. That's crazy. Listen, Todd, you've got a book here that you have interviews not only with the ones you mentioned with Giants greats, but Joe Namath, Walt Clyde Frazier, Jesse Orosco, Mark Messier, Aaron Judge. And before we finish this, I wanted to give you a chance to shout out your book signing in Ridgewood, in our neck of the woods, on, I believe it's Thursday night. So why don't you give the details to the listeners?
Well, I mean, Art, thank you for putting me on. The people in Bergen County love you, listen to you, and follow you, and I couldn't ask for a better place to be able to share that my very first book, which I co-authored with the great and New York Times best-selling author Gary Myers. We're having a book signing at Bookends in Ridgewood this Thursday night, like you said, from 7 to 9 with 1996 World Series hero Jim Leyritz. All of us will be there to sign the book. If you go on the Bookends website, they want you to sign up and get a book, and that book is your ticket in, and then you can you'll end up with 3 people's signatures, and I've got many more stories about the Giants and Jets and Knicks, and I spoke to Messier and Namath about their guarantees, and happy to share those personal stories with people. And Jim Leyritz has a great story, which I will just share very quickly, that everyone knows that Bucky Dent borrowed Mickey Rivers' bat to hit his famous home run in Fenway to win that, and they go on to win a World Series. What they don't know is that Rivers told me there was a home run in the bat. Both of them confirmed that for me. While I was talking to Leyritz, Jim Leyritz ended up using Strawberry's bat because he only had 2 bats left to face Smoltz the next day, and Waller's was throwing over 100. He didn't want to break one of those 2 bats. Saw a brand new box of Strawberry's bats. They said, hey, Strawman, can I borrow it? He hit his famous home run, which turned around the first World Series, and as they wrote in the book, they never would have won 4 out of 5 without the first one, and they wouldn't have won it without Jim Leyritz. So the Strawman helped with that, and Jimmy said that he had never told anyone that story. So please come out to Bookends this Thursday at 7 p.m. in Ridgewood, and we've got a million stories like that we'll share with you. And I think people like the book. I tried to write a book that would bring a smile to people's faces, and hopefully that's what I did.
Well, for all your years as a sports producer in this town, you can now add another title. That's author Todd Ehrlich, from one Bergen County guy to another. Congratulations. Appreciate you joining me all in this week. And I'm sure there are Giants fans listening who hope that your prediction at the beginning of the interview about the Giants and Cowboys Sunday night actually comes true.
Me too. I appreciate you, Art. Thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely, Todd. Appreciate it. And that's Todd Ehrlich. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Some memories through the years of Giants. I like the stories about McConkey and the gun. I had never heard that one before. So thanks to Todd. Best of luck for him and his book. And we'll catch you up tomorrow. Thanks for always being all in. We're all in with you.